So, hello everybody, and thank you for those of you that have joined us live on the call, and welcome to anyone who's watching the recording afterwards. So, the Warriors course, it's something that I am really excited to be doing. So, I'd like to share with you a little bit about why I called this the Warrior's Journey, because one lady that I spoke to about this was kind of like, "Oh, warrior, I'm not sure, that sounds a bit like a fighting thing for me, and I'm not sure that worked." So I thought I would just kind of share with you what it means to me and why I call this the Warrior's Journey. When I first came across the principles, I wasn't in a very good place in my life, and coming across the principles changed everything for me. I had quite a big insight at the beginning of coming across this, and a lot of things shifted. But then what I noticed was there was quite a period of like integrating what had shifted for me and making sense of the insights I'd had, making sense of what I'd seen, and moving forward in my life in quite a different way. And sometimes that felt to me quite a lot like it took courage, and it took me, I was making decisions to do things differently. That's certainly what it looked like in those days. And some friends of mine were doing yoga, and they were doing this thing called the warrior pose, and some people were doing meditation and things like this, and these were all very new things to me. They weren't things that I'd ever come across particularly in my life before, and I really liked the idea. The warrior to me then stood for somebody who was committed, somebody who was courageous, somebody who would stand up and do this. So it didn't feel to me like it was exactly a fight, but it did feel as if you needed to commit to something. It did feel as if there was
Hi Tracy.
Hi, it's good to see you, really good to see you. It did feel as if this was something that I committed myself to. It did feel as if there was work involved, but in a good way, because certainly what it then looked to me was like almost a bit of a playful warrior. It was kind of like I would definitely set myself little challenges and see what I could do, see what I could achieve, see what happened when I did those kinds of things. And over the last few weeks, while we've been looking into doing this again, I know certainly, I mean, this morning we were having a conversation in the kitchen, and it was literally, I walked over the sink towards the sink to do the washing up, and I kind of said, what happens for me when I think of myself as a warrior is, I'm washing up, and then I warrior wash up. And it was kind of like that. It made me feel as if I was a part of something bigger than me. That was the feeling behind it for me. It made me feel as if I was in something not on my own. I wasn't alone, and there was something for me to aspire to, but in a very positive, good way. And that really worked for me. And I absolutely acknowledge that isn't necessarily everybody's way, but certainly for me, and I know I saw some amazing changes in the people that participated the last time we did the Warriors course. When people actually interacted and participated and did that, we had similar sorts of feedback. It was kind of like, I'm not just washing up, I'm warrior washing up. It certainly made a difference. It was certainly, there was a commitment there. And I know Michael Neal, I can't remember who the quote is by, and I should have written it, but it was kind of like, when we make a commitment to something, it's as if the whole universe conspires to help that happen. And I could really see that coming out in the people the last time that made this warrior commitment. That definitely happened.
I know we had a brief chat this morning about kind of what we might say around the why it's a warrior's course and why that means something to us. And as soon as we started the conversation, you started a sentence, and I kind of finished the sentence in my head, because you said it's almost like and in my head I went straight to step into something. We step up, we play up. Our gameplay goes up when we know we're doing something and committing to something. And like Deb was saying, there's like this, we're part of something bigger here. And a warrior to me brings to mind like a kind of army. And for me, that's not an army of fighting, that's an army of peace.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're here to kind of explore, is a peaceful journey through life with an army of people that are in this with us.
Yeah, and we're in it together, and it's that collaboration and that support and that, you know, coming together to see and to share our insights and to share. I know a lot of the things that we shared on that, we are more than the sum of our parts. Yeah. And when people come together, it reminds me of a type of mastermind. When we come together in this way, it's like one of us, you know, on our own, we can do a lot, but together in a group, we begin to see things that are beyond anything we could have imagined. So yeah, that's a little bit of an
introduction as to why we think of ourselves and why we like to play this game through the idea of being warriors. So a part of that for us is always about having fun.
Oh yes,
so that brings us
definitely
very
serious about having fun.
Yeah, that's the thing we take the most seriously, is having fun. So that brings us really nicely onto the next part of what we want to do. We thought it would be fun because you're all here interested in what this warrior is about, and we're starting the warrior's journey from the 1st of April, and that's a 90-day thing. That's a paid course, or this is the free part of the course, the free introduction. So we would like to give away a free access to that course for one very lucky person, and we thought we'd make it a really fun game. So we've got a competition for you, and you can either join in by actually, I think the best way to join in is just putting your answers in the chat box, and you can have 3 guesses. Should we go for 3 guesses?
Yeah, 3 guesses. Why not?
3 guesses. So here's our little competition for tonight.
We should have done whether I'm having a boy or a girl. Not me personally.
Yeah, we should have done whether Deb's about to be a grandma. We should have gone guess boy or girl. But,
yeah, we so should.
We don't know the answer to that
she doesn't know. She didn't find out whether it was a boy or girl.
So we went for something a bit more traditional.
What's the link for you to get on?
I'll send it to her in 1 minute. So our competition is a little bit more traditional than that. We absolutely love chocolates and sweets in our house. So we found a massive jar and filled it with chocolates and sweets.
That were just hanging on. These sweets were just hanging around in our house. They were just in the cupboard.
We'll eat them all. So our competition, if you haven't worked it out, is guess how many sweets and chocolates there are in the jar.
And if nobody gets it right, if people guess too few, I will eat them till the first person gets right. Till we get to a right answer.
Oh yeah, you'll take that sacrifice for the team.
Yeah, I will stand up as a warrior and do that.
So if you want to put your guesses in the chat box, you can have up to 3 guesses, and whoever kind of gets the closest, or Deb will eat a few so that you get the answer. We've already got a couple of answers coming in.
Cool.
I'll show you the jar again a little bit later, and you can have a few more guesses, and we'll announce the winner sort of maybe 6:20 or so. So Deb, can you just pass me my phone for a second?
Sorry, I can indeed.
Send that on to Julie. So we're going to talk a little bit now about, I took part in the first warrior's journey. And so I wanted to share a little bit about kind of what changed for me and why I so highly recommend this as a kind of 90-day course.
Yeah, because you'd come across the principles for about a year, hadn't you?
Yeah.
When we did the first Warriors course, and it was definitely the Warriors course that shifted everything for you, wasn't it?
Something massive changed for me over the course
I
of
watched
those.
you go from kind of here to here. It was like, wow, yeah, something definitely shifted for you.
So I just thought it'd be nice if you might just be on this webinar to hear some amazing stuff, and hopefully we'll share some amazing stuff too. But if you're also kind of here because you're interested in the 90-day course and what you might get from it, or why we would say it's a great idea, I thought it might be nice, because at that time I wasn't part of Deb's team and we weren't kind of working together the way we do now. I was, just purely someone interested in the conversation she shared. And so I jumped onto this 90-day online course that she was doing. and it just skyrocketed things for me. I'd probably been having some conversations with Deb for about a year, and it was nice, and we maybe spoke once a week or something, and I think I came to visit Deb a couple of times in Devon over that period of a year, and it was lovely, and I enjoyed the conversation. And then I came to the 90-day course, and I just hit the ground running, didn't I? And
you did.
Really, so for me, what changed over the course of those 90 days, and it comes back a little bit to what Deb was saying earlier about why warrior, was, for me, it was the commitment. It was the engaging in my life for the first time in a long time. It was stepping up to and taking responsibility for my life, and kind of looking at what was happening for me, how that experience was being created, and whether there were things I could do differently, whether there were things I wanted to do differently, how kind of flexibly I could approach life. So that was kind of what I started to do. I really started to play with the things that Deb was sending through every day on email, reading them and really playing with them over the course of the day. Like, she would invite us to notice what thoughts we had and how we felt when we had those thoughts, and, you know, just little things like that that were in some ways very small, and in other ways just massive for me. I just never questioned things before that. I'd never really stopped and gone, what if life didn't have to be this way? What if I could feel differently? What if I could have a new thought? What if I could have an insight or a moment of wisdom? And so I just really got into it and really kind of played all out. I don't know if you've ever kind of watched any sports or that kind of thing, but people, when they're playing a game of, you know, whether it's football, ice hockey is one of my favourite sports, so I go and watch that a lot, and you see sports players are really in the zone. And I think for the course of those 90 days, I think that would describe me, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I was in the zone. I was a warrior, and I was ready for something to change. And the start of the course, and I think Deb's going to talk a bit more about this in a bit, she asked those of us that were on the course to make a commitment to really engage with the process over the 90 days. Because there's a really old saying, and it's a little bit corny, but it's really true. What you put in is what you get out. And that was really, for me, what came across in those 90 days. I went in, Lucy's just shouted in the background, sausage machine. I think what she means that what kind of ingredients you put into a sausage machine will determine the quality of the sausages you get out at the end. And I think that was one of the metaphors Deb used on that course. And that was really true for me. I really went in fully kitted out to play at being a warrior for 90 days. And whatever Deb kind of shared with me or challenged me or invited me to have a play around with, I really went into that and thought, yeah, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to see what a difference it can make if I'm out there playing the game of being a warrior. And just, there's some more stuff we're going to share in a little bit around some of the things we actually did. I think there was there 10 of us on that course?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, so there was about 10 of us that did it on that occasion. And one of them was Lucy, and Lucy and I were living at that time maybe 5 or 10 minutes apart, and because we were both on it, we were kind of back and forth a lot about, what are you doing today for the warrior course? Well, I'm doing this. What about this for you? So we actually kind of almost spurred each other on, which I think again is part of the whole idea of a warrior, isn't it?
Definitely this is about collaboration and support and helping each other, and definitely in that. I definitely think support and collaboration and sharing and being in this together is really
key. So we were doing a lot of that, and over the course of those 90 days there were just some incredible things that we did, all of us as warriors and each of us individually as well. And it happened on that course, and this wasn't planned at the beginning of the course, but it ended up happening that a few of us happened to be in Devon around the same time, because it was an online course. We were spread out across the country, and it turned out there was a weekend when about maybe 4 or 5 of us were going to be in Devon at the same time. And so we ended up doing some stuff together over that weekend, and some of the stuff that came out that we'd all been seeing over the course was just incredible. And that for me is kind of why I would recommend this. There's just something about intentionally putting yourself in this conversation, like drip, 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 day by day, just looking at really what's creating our experience and what that can change for you. That, you know, for me is just the real key reason why I would highly recommend diving into this conversation with us, under the, you know, playful guise of being a warrior, and just seeing what can change. So that's kind of the little bit I wanted to share from my perspective as to what happened.
Can I just add something to that?
Please do.
What I'd seen and what was kind of coming to me around that time was like the whole reason that this is 90 days and you're going to get something every day of those 90 days. And actually the daily inspirations that I send out was born from this. It was after I did this course that I started to do the daily inspirations, because so many people said to me, having something every day to remind me is a really good idea. And one of the things that I sometimes, you know, I've noticed for me and around the principles, when we come across this understanding and we begin to see that thought creates our reality, we begin to see that, you know, when we believe our thinking, that's the way our life goes. And we kind of see that, and we have insights around that, and we're aware of that. And then it's very, very easy to get drawn in again by our thinking, you know, and forget it. You know, it's that simple. We see that thought is creating our reality. We see that our freedom comes from being aware of that fact. And then we kind of go to sleep to that fact again. We forget it. And part of this was very much like, you know, we're mesmerized by our thinking, and then we hear this and we kind of look away, and we see something different, we see something bigger, we see something amazing, and then our thinking starts jumping around over here and it catches our attention again, and it's like, yeah, remember what's over here? Yeah, but this thinking's mesmerizing. Yeah, but remember what's over here? And it's kind of bringing our attention and getting used to seeing things in a different way over a period of time, because I can really see that is the main thing that has changed for me. The place where my mind goes to first is, this is thought, isn't it? Where for most of my life that wasn't what happened to me. You know, if I had a thought that looked scary, or a thought that, you know, any kind of thinking, if a thought was in my head, it looked to me as if it was there for a reason, as if it was telling me something. You know, whatever the thought was saying looked true. It didn't look to me like I needed to question the validity of that thinking, and, you know, where was that going to take me? It didn't occur to me to do that. It mesmerized me, it took me in, and it looked true. And part of what we're doing is kind of exploring a different way to be in the world, and being reminded, yeah, explore again, yeah, go on, keep exploring, yeah, do that again, because it's amazing how quickly we can forget that. And I absolutely can see from us you know, deciding that we're going to do this again and looking over the warrior stuff, we've kind of seen, wow, look how complacent we got about what we think we know. Look how, you know, we kind of fell into this place of, yeah, we've got this covered. And that was our thinking again, drawing us in and making us believe that it looked real and true. And being reminded, no, do you know what? Remember to keep questioning that. Remember, you can be a different way in the world about anything and everything. And it's just been so fantastic, that reminder.
So I think we'll open up now and see if anyone's got any questions, either specifically about the warrior course, or just generally about being the warrior,
or principles, and, you know, questions about what the principles are, what it is, you know, what this understanding that we're going to be sharing. If you've got anything that's coming up for you around that, please, you know, feel free to ask that too, because one of the things definitely, this is something we've decided we would like to do the Warriors course, not only this time, but we would like to do it again after this. It's something we're going to keep doing, I think. Certainly for me personally, I definitely want to do that. And it would be really, really great during the time to have your input and have your feedback. And if there's anything you want included, any questions, you know, on an ongoing basis, anything you want to look into, please feel free to share that with us too. And yeah, any questions you've got about this, or any just general questions.
So if you've got any questions, you can either unmute yourselves or you can just type in the chat box. So feel free to do that.
Just checking if there's any baby news while we sing it.
Grandmother brain. So nobody's dived in straight away. So I'll give you a few minutes while you're thinking about whether you've got any questions. For those that maybe popped in a minute or two late, I'm going to re-announce our competition so you can join in. And for those that have only put maybe one answer so far, you can have up to 3 guesses. How many sweets and chocolates are in our jar? So this is how big it is. Let's zoom in a little bit. You've got maybe 10 seconds to try and count. So if you want to make any more guesses, feel free to pop those in the chat box. And I think around about 6:20 we'll see who's closest.
And just in case you didn't hear what the competition is, the person who either guesses the exact right number or gets the nearest to it is going to get free I'll start that again.
They'll get free access to the warrior course is what Deb's trying to say.
What she meant was.
Yeah. So yes, you can have up to 3 guesses and whoever gets the closest will get the free access to the warriors course. So just to kind of, while we wait and see if there are any other questions, if you wanted to sign up to the warrior course, I'll put some information in the chat box so you can see how to do that. And anyone that signs up to join in the warrior course, you also get a free sample of the warrior book, which is going to be published imminently, she says, with fingers crossed. Lucy's actually sat behind me working on the editing of the warrior book now, so there will be a free sample of that for anyone that signs up to the warrior course, plus a month's free access to one of the courses on our online membership called Who Do You Think You Are, which explores some of the reasons behind kind of why we do the warriors course, about who we truly are. So there'll be a 3 months access to that for anyone that joins up to the warrior course as well. So it doesn't appear that anyone's dropped any questions in the chat and nobody's unmuted. So we did have a couple of questions before that have come through separately. So I think we'll perhaps just answer those.
Yeah, there were a couple of people who couldn't make it tonight. And so I just said, have you got any questions? If you let me have them. So
So the first one is just a more of a practical question, just a little bit about what kind of takes place over those 90 days and what's involved and the prices and that kind of thing. So do you want to share a bit about that, Deb?
Yep. So it's a 90-day course, as I've already said, and you will receive something by email every single day of those 90 days. And it could be anything. It could be nothing dodgy. So you might receive a challenge, or you might receive something to read, or you might receive a video to watch, or an audio to just listen to. Nothing, it's not a huge commitment every day, but what we do ask of you is to make a commitment to the 90 days of the warrior course, to, as best you can, open the emails and read them and participate. So yes, so you're going to receive something every day for 90 days. What else, practically wise?
Price?
Oh, the price. So, yeah.
Always a good one to know.
So the Warriors course costs £90 to join in. So that is £1 a day, because we thought that was a good idea. Yeah. And if anyone is interested, if you let us know, we will send you details of how to join in with us. And the other thing that we kind of decided was that this is a little bit, the last time I did the Warriors course, it was 4 years ago, and a lot has changed for me in those 4 years. I see things quite differently to how I did then. And so this is going to be quite different to that course. So this is a little bit of a pilot for what we would like to build on and what we would like to do more of. So we absolutely have plans to run this again. This time we're going to invite you to give us a lot of feedback. We want people to kind of help us build this and help us make this the most helpful course that you've ever done. The one thing that I really don't, I know I've signed up for lots of things, I've done lots of things, I've tried lots of things, I've spent money on things, at the end of it I'm like, nothing's changed, that didn't help me. And we're really, really keen for that not to happen here. We don't want one of those kinds of courses. We want to be on hand, we want to help you, and we want to help you see what it is we're pointing towards. And we would really love your engagement and your feedback as we go along. And as I say, this is a pilot, so we would be very interested in what's going on. So the price reflects that, and we're never going to do it this cheaply again. But if you join in this time, you're getting that, the reduced rate. And also, if you ever did decide to join in and do the Warriors, if you enjoyed it as much as we did the first time, and you did decide to do it again, you will always only pay this price. You will never pay more than this. So anyone who joins this first time can join again at the same rate if you ever wanted to do it. And that's even, if it was 6 times down the road. Because definitely with the kind of thing that we share, this understanding, certainly what I've seen for myself is I have had the same insights quite a few times, but each time I've seen something deeper when I've had the insight again. And I absolutely know that when we revisit things, and definitely for us, as I said, just the mention and just talking about what we had seen last time in the Warriors course brought a lot of things back, and certainly set me off having quite a few insights around that and kind of seeing things even more deeply. So definitely doing this again, repeating it, and you will have the emails that you have, what you receive on this course. It's going to be slightly different every time, and what you receive will be yours to keep and look back over and see again. So anything else practical that I can?
I'm just going to put to join, if you're interested in joining in or just want to know a little bit more before you kind of commit, what we would suggest is that you just email us, and that, I think, nope, that's entirely not it.
Oh, don't you love technical things? What have you given them?
Well, that's the Zoom link for tonight if you need it. That's the link to our online membership and a link to get the tickets to join tonight. Let's try and copy that again, shall we? How do you copy on your computer, Deb?
What are you trying to do?
Oh, it's Command C.
C.
Oh, it's silly Apple stuff, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, that's it. There we are. Let's try that again. So if you want to join in the Warriors course, or just want to know a bit more information before you commit to joining in, if you just drop an email to that email address, daretobeyu@gmx.co.uk, we'll give you all the information you'll need in terms of joining, paying, what you'll kind of get from us, how to access the free stuff that we're giving away to anyone that joins in. All of that kind of information we can send to you. So that's the email address for that. So I think that's the practical bit ticked off. But if anyone's got questions on that, feel free. So then the next question we had was around, there was someone that was kind of asking, they're having some struggles in their relationship and they perhaps like the sound of the Warrior course, but what they're interested to know is, does that the person they're in a relationship need to join in order to get some benefit from this? Will it help with their relationship struggles? So have you maybe got an answer on that one, Deb?
Well, relationships, for those of you that know anything about me, will know that was where I completely screwed my life up. Yeah, I was terrible at relationships. And coming across the principles, it completely changed all of that. And what I notice about this understanding is that it doesn't take 2 to tango. It doesn't take 2 people in a relationship to come across this understanding and to change and to see things differently for a relationship to change. So, I mean, my partner that I'm with, he's all right, isn't he, Russ? He's lovely.
He's all right, is Russ.
Yeah, he has never been to anything principles. He's never actively been involved in anything, and yet if you asked him the question, he would absolutely say that my understanding of the principles changed our relationship for the better massively. So it absolutely only takes one of you. So if you wanted to join this, but you know, and you're joining it for relationship reasons because you're struggling in your and even if, like me, you've had relationship issues. And when I first came across this and started to do this, I was on my own. It doesn't matter. It absolutely, this is, for me, this is the foundation of every good relationship. Understanding yourself And this is what this is all about. This is what the Warriors Course is all about. It's about a deep dive into knowing the truth of who you are and knowing yourself, whether it's whatever it is, whether it's a relationship issue, a work issue, you just want to do better at anything. Knowing yourself, knowing the truth of who you are is absolutely key to that.
Yeah, it's all about, like, we talk about kind of thriving, not surviving. And I mean, for me, definitely when I came, when I first started having the principles conversations and then started doing this course, one of the biggest things for me that came out was relationship stuff. Like, I'd got into some very unhealthy relationships, and definitely there was huge insights for me around that kind of stuff. And I think that's made my relationships a lot healthier these days. And I'm way more aware of where I can trip up around that. And being in this conversation for me, kind of, it doesn't just highlight it. It takes it away almost. It just takes it to a place where it isn't an issue anymore. And then if you do start to trip yourself up with it, you just see it. It becomes,
see it more for what it is.
You just become way more aware of that. So yeah, I think the answer to that question is simply yes. If you're having relationship struggles, come along and join in. And no, it doesn't need anybody else to join in for that to be something that can change.
And I think we're going to be pointing to around relationships, and it's very much, every relationship is about you, and it's about knowing when to put yourself first and to take care of yourself and love yourself, and knowing when not to do that. Very often when I speak to people, I had a lady that I was having a conversation with this morning, and what was really coming to me when she was talking to me was that she was taking way too much notice of herself in areas where she shouldn't, where she was the least important in that area, and she wasn't taking care of herself and wasn't kind of looking after herself in places that were really important that she did. And I think we very often have that backwards. And sometimes the answer is love yourself, and sometimes the answer is no, that you're just not important in this moment, in this part of the equation. And we're going to be pointing towards, how do you know that? How do you know when you're too me, and when do you know that you're just not taking into account, taking your wants and needs into account, and what difference that makes? And for me, that is huge to know that. And what I've seen is that we have a fantastic feedback system that is, it's never wrong, never. And yet we miss it, and we misunderstand it, and we misunderstand what it's telling us. And part of this knowing yourself is getting to know your own feedback system, because it's different for every one of us. It's not as simple. Excuse me. It's not as simple as just, this is how it is. And it's the same for everyone, and you'll recognize it from this, which is why the Warriors Course and playing around with this, it will give you insights into your own feedback system and how to recognize it for yourself. This is very much going to point you back to you. And that was, for me, that's invaluable, because we're all slightly different.
And I like what I'm kind of hearing in some of what you're saying there is, there's a reason why children play and explore and have lots of fun, because they just learn that way. There's no kind of pressure. And this course for us is about learning about where your experience is coming from, and we do that through just oodles of fun. And like, one of the things I wanted to share a bit about was the last time we did this course, one of the things that came out for us when Deb kind of set some challenges for us, and I think we'll do a lot of that in this time round as well, because that just seems
already
to be
having some fun with it.
we're already got ideas. That seems to be where some of the biggest insights comes out, and some of the biggest kind of shifts. And the area that kind of really hit home for me, and I know for Lucy, and I know for a couple of others on the course, was around doing things for other people and ourselves from a place of kindness, from a place of giving, with no expectation in return, with no kind of outcomes required, and we kind of called it random acts of kindness, and you might have heard of that kind of idea anyway. And we just had so much fun, and we just did a host of stuff over, I mean, from the very day that Deb set the challenge around doing something kind, we just didn't stop.
No,
it's it just from all sorts of ideas, and it was just things from as simple as Lucy bought some flowers for a lady that had gotten cross with her when she was parking her car in the wrong place, to I had a friend that was going to be off sick from work for a little while and was worrying about some money, so I just went to the supermarket and bought two bags of food for her. I just bought like some food because I knew she was going to struggle with money, and right the way through to our favourite story is the great cake giveaway of 2015, where we just went to Asda and bought a load of cakes and just gave them away to people outside the store, for the hell of it, for the fun of it. And we just did all sorts of crazy.
The learning in that was massive. The learning around that was huge.
Yeah. And so we wanted to, as a kind of follow on from this webinar, we wanted to invite you, even if you have no intention or you aren't sure if you want to join in, or you like the idea but you don't know, this is entirely unrelated to actually joining in with the 90 days, but we just wanted to invite you guys to do something with us for the fun of doing something that's nice. So we're going to ask you if you're if you want to, we're going to put a link in a minute in the chat. We've set up an event on Facebook for the 90-day warrior course, and we're going to invite you to go to that event and share your best tip with other people for when you're feeling low or when you're having a bad day or any of that.
Your best
tip for life, with no kind of expectation of an outcome, with no desire to get anything back, just for the hell of sharing it. Put something in there that's your best tip for what you do with life. What's been the best advice you've ever had, or the best tip you've got for someone else. So I'll find that link now and pop that in the chat, if I can copy properly this time.
And if you see other people's comments and they mean, you comment on them. If somebody's put a tip there that you think, oh wow, yeah, I really like that, or whatever, comment on it. So start a conversation. It would be really good, and it'd be really good to just have those, because this is kind of this whole collaboration thing, and it doesn't mean that you have to do it, but it can be really surprising when people share things like this, when we're in this together and we're helping each other. It's amazing what comes from that and what you can see in what someone else is sharing. You never know what it's going to trigger and spark, and when you might remember something someone else has shared in that way, at a time that means something to you. So it'd be really, really great. Yeah, so if you put a comment in, and if you see anyone else has commented and said anything, and something occurs to you to comment on that, then please do that. It's a really good way to just have a bit of interaction and have a bit of fun.
And it'd be a fun thing to do with no kind of
for no reason,
there's
nothing in
to
it
get from it other than the natural feeling that comes from doing something good. So I've shared the link for the event, and you are under no obligation whatsoever to join in with the warrior course if you share your best tip, but drop in there and share a tip just for fun. And what we will probably do at the end of that is gather all of those tips and put them in the free part of our online membership, so that other people can just enjoy them. So we just thought that would be a really fun kind of example of the kind of stuff we do with this, the kind of way that we get out and just play with the warrior idea. So that was the little bit that came from the course for me, was the really just doing things from a place of knowing that I can be kind and I can give to other people with no expected outcomes, and there's a feeling that comes from that is just built in. It's part of the design, that we feel good for doing stuff like that. So join in where you'd like to with that, and that's just our little fun game for the evening. So the next thing we would kind of just want to talk a little bit, I think you've already talked a bit about this, but I think it might be nice to share a bit more around who this course is actually for, and whether, if you're thinking about joining in, whether you're ready for it. So do you want to share a bit on that, Deb?
Okay, so for me, we are asking for a commitment for people that are going to do the Warriors course, because last time there was we had 10 people, and it was very, very noticeable, the people who joined in and the people who had agreed to do this and then just didn't do anything with it, didn't open, after about 1 or 2 days, didn't open the emails and didn't join in. So, I would really invite you to think about, if you are interested at all, there is a commitment here that you're going to be making. We would really, really, really encourage you to open the emails and to join in the things that we suggest that you do. Because one of the things that I have really noticed, a couple of weeks ago, there's I'm doing a course with some other people, and we actually had a conversation about the cake giveaway. We were sharing that, we were talking about that we were going to be doing the Warriors course again, and we just had a conversation about the cake giveaway. And I can't tell you how huge the learning was for the people that joined in that cake giveaway the first time. It brought things up for us that we had no idea that were there, and we saw things that we just didn't know existed for us. And we wouldn't have known that had we not physically done it. The idea was there, and then we actually physically decided to go. We went and bought cakes, and we went and stood outside, and we handed them to people. And there is nothing that can take away what happens to you when you actually do something. And we were sat around a couple of weeks ago with these people, and we were sharing about this and talking about it. And one of the ladies that was in this group kind of said, "Oh wow, I'd really, really love to do that." She said, "I think that's a really great idea. Maybe we should do that one day." And then someone else said, "Well, why don't we do that then? We were going to do something later on that day." And she said, "Why don't we do it?" And the change in this person then, when it was kind of like, "Oh, we're actually going to do it," it's like, what? We're actually going to do it? And we did do it. And I can't stress enough how different it is. Like, if you open an email and read something and it's inviting you to do something, and you kind of go, "Oh yeah, I know what that would be like. Oh yeah, I kind of know what it's like to do that. Oh yeah, it will probably feel like this." It won't. Do it. Do it. The learning is get off your bum and do it. And whatever it is you're invited to do, whether you are invited to actually stop and reread something, because I've noticed a lot of memes get shared around Facebook, and we stop seeing them. We stop seeing what they're sharing. We stop looking deeply enough. We're seeing through what we already know. So if you're invited to kind of take a breath and actually look at these words and look at what is being shared, it's that kind of thing, because actually participating, joining in, doing something is the difference that makes the difference. You will find that will trigger insights, that will change stuff for you. You will actually be. It's one thing to say, challenge your thinking. It's another thing to actually challenge your thinking. They're two different things, and the outcomes are quite different. What you get from it, what you see, are quite different. So definitely this course is for someone who is ready to do that. If you're kind of sitting there going, "Yeah, I don't think I'll open those emails. I don't think I'll do these things. I don't think I'll join in." Well, then it's not for you. With the best will in the world, it isn't going to be for you. If you're not interested in joining in, then still love you absolutely unconditionally, but then don't. We don't want. I absolutely would love people on this course to see something different. I watched Beck transform on this course. It was life transformational. And, whether it's as big as that for you or whether it's something smaller, but I definitely would like people who participate in these 90 days to feel different at the end of it to the start. And I don't think you're going to feel different in the way that I'm pointing to if you've just got 90 unopened emails and you've done nothing. So think about that if you're considering this course, and if you want to have a chat with us, if you want to have a conversation, send an email. As you can probably see, I never stop talking. Always good to talk about the principles, always good to share what this is about. The reason I do what I do is because my brand new grandchild, who, yes, no updates, hasn't been born yet, I absolutely want this little tiny brand new baby child to be born into a world where more people know about this. I can't express enough how much this has changed my life, and I want to share it. So there you go.
So if you think you're ready to deep dive, commit, and join in with what we're up to, I'll, at the end of this, just before we finish, I'll put the links in again to email us, and then I will send them round to everybody who's registered, because there's people that will be watching this afterwards, so they won't be able to see the links in the chat. So I'm just going to give you one last flash of the sweet jar. If you haven't done all three, if you haven't had all three guesses yet, here's the sweet jar. You've got a couple more minutes to get your guesses in to win free access to the Warriors course. Okay, so that's it. In 2 or 3 minutes, I'll go through the answers and see who's won. So just before we do that, I think the last kind of thing we wanted to talk about is we, over the last couple of weeks, as we've started to kind of visit the Warriors course, we've been having some really amazing conversations. We have about kind of why we're doing this and what insights have come from us just by coming up with the idea of revisiting. And I think the biggest thing, and I think we're going to explore this as much as we can over those 90 days for us, is that we have seen that we had gotten into, I think Deb pointed this earlier, quite a complacent place around, I mean, it's 4 years since we did that course, and so many things changed for me, and I know a lot of things changed for Deb as the person that was kind of putting the content out there, and I think we just slowly but surely got lost in the kind of our lives, really. Got lost in like the content of our lives and the stories of our lives, and became kind of complacent about being a warrior, about stepping up and playing the game. And one of the things we kind of talked about was how we'd gone into almost a kind of arrogant headspace of, oh, we've got this, we don't need to do stuff in the world, we know how we're going to feel if we are kind to people, we know that, we've done that already, we did it 4 years ago. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of that paradox of knowing that we're perfectly okay if we don't do stuff out in the world, knowing that we're perfectly okay no matter what's going on, whilst also knowing that something changes for us and something's massive for us when we are doing stuff out in the world, when we are playing all out. Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to have a little conversation around that before we kind of wrap up some stuff.
Well, I know in the principles world at the moment, there's kind of a little bit of a shift towards people looking towards something called non-duality. And, you know, for those of you that have heard of it, great. If you haven't, non-duality is ultimately where you're going to kind of come to if you look in this direction. Know thyself. If you are going to go into self-inquiry and get to know yourself, eventually you're going to come to this place where you're going to have realization about the oneness of life, and how that works. You know, you're going to start to see that. And when we get there, we can begin to kind of get to this place. I'm sure you've heard it bandied around, oh, there's nothing to do, you already are love, you already are everything that you know, everything that you seek, you already are it. And absolutely, we absolutely are. There is no doubt in my mind that we are one, and we are love, and we are all of those things. But we live in a paradoxical world, as in two things can be true at the same time. And the biggest paradox that I've seen is it's very easy when we go to that place and kind of say there is nothing to do, to kind of get fearful that we actually won't do anything. And what revisiting the Warriors course really kind of showed up for me was that doing stuff, getting out in the world, you know, giving away cakes, doing random acts of kindness, doing things for myself, doing all of those things that we do, there's magic in that kind of thing. There's absolute magic in that. There's also magic in knowing the deeper truth of who you are, because what you begin to see then is this amazing paradox that exists, that if we live our life from a place of absolutely stepping up to do what is ours to do, acting as if I have control of my life, acting as if I am responsible for what happens in my life, with an absolute deep knowing that I am not responsible and I don't control it. And it is a little bit of a thing to get your head around sometimes, you know, and definitely I think 4 years ago, I got glimpses of that during the Warriors course. This year, that has become so clear to me that the feedback system that we have tells me when I'm taking responsibility for something that I'm not responsible for. The feedback system tells me when I'm not caring enough about stuff. So it's kind of, it keeps you, the feedback system is brilliant to kind of tell you when you're in this place of being in service to what is in service. And that to me is the crux of what being a warrior is. And I think as human beings, you know, we hear people talking about purpose and connection and all of these kinds of things. And those things are ours. We've already got those. There's nothing we need to do to have those. But the feeling that we get into and how we know that is from being in this place of being in service to what's in service. And we're smack bang in the right place of this paradox. We know about, we see the oneness of the world, you know, that can be seen, but we also see our individualness and what is ours to step up and do. And we do it from a place of great joy, great pleasure, it's beautiful. It's just, to me, it is the absolute place that human beings are designed to live from. It just seems the ideal place to be. And that is kind of where the understanding of that paradox and seeing that and getting to know your feedback system and, you know, how is it possible for you to live from that place? That to me is what this is about.
Yeah. So John's just shared a little comment. As with genius and insanity, there is a very thin line between peace and apathy. And I think, that's what you're pointing to, isn't it? That balance,
absolutely,
that place in the middle. And it can feel like a thin line, and we can feel like we might tip one way or the other. And I think the beautiful thing about what you're sharing there is as soon as we do tip one way or the other, we know, and we're being pointed back to that place of balance.
And we have this feedback system, and that, you know thyself to me is learning, and the playing around and the seeing kind of shows up, oh yeah, that was my feedback system, that was what it was telling me. And we can misunderstand what our feedback system is telling us and get into trouble. And I think this is kind of exploring, you know, you've seen that was your feedback system, push it here, try this, play with this, and you'll see it again. And then this line, this place of being in service is, we see, you know, we've got everything we need to point us there. It's brilliant. So that's just me. Getting a little bit excited.
Yeah, we've been over the last.
I'm a little bit
passionate. we've been sat in the office here and just bubbling with ideas and plans for the Warrior course, and we wanted to do a webinar that just shared some of that with you, so you get a feel for what you would be diving into if you join us on that course. And if you don't, then hopefully you've taken something away from the webinar.
I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so.
We just like to be out there sharing this.
We do.
So we're coming up for 6:25. I've had a little look through the answers, and if my maths is any good, which I can't promise.
Do I have to eat some of the sweets?
No, you don't have to eat any of the sweets, Deb. Actually, yes, technically you do.
Oh, cool.
We have a winner.
Spot on winner?
No, not spot on. The closest person, the correct answer was 143. And the person that got closest is Colette's iPhone. Colette, you guessed 128, and that you need to eat 15 chocolates, Deb.
Colette, I will eat 15. You know, so, the warrior in me will eat 15 of those sweets.
So congratulations, Colette. You got the closest with our jar of chocolates. So we will be in touch with you to let you know how you can join in with the Warriors course entirely for free. Ta-da! Well done. Yeah, she said. I think that's a happy Colette. So yeah, we'll contact you separately, Colette, to just let you know how you can join.
Have we got Colette? Yeah, we will have her email address.
All email addresses are in Eventbrite for now, so
cool.
We can be in touch with you and let you know. So for the rest of you, I've popped in the chat box again how to join in. You can just contact us at the email address if you'd like to join in. And if you do want to share some tips for fun and to be a part of just for a few minutes, the fun that we're trying to create here, I've shared the link to the Facebook event, and I think the 4 of us in the Dare to Be You team will share our best tips over the next day or so, because I'm sure we've got some that we can start to share, and I'll send that information out on email as well to everyone, so if you don't have a chance to copy it from the chat now, you will have it on email in the next day or so. So is there anything else you just wanted to finish up with, Deb, or if anyone's got a last minute question?
Yeah, obviously if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to ask questions. We will be sending out the recording of this as well. And obviously our email address is there if you've got any questions that you want to ask. The other thing, we do have a membership,
which I accidentally copied the link already. So the link's in here if you're interested in that.
And there is a free section in our online membership, because I don't know whether you can tell from tonight, but I am pretty passionate about what I share. This really means something to me. This is way more than just a job to me. I absolutely love watching people. It was one of my greatest pleasures to watch what happened to Beck during those 90 days. And I love that with my clients and with other people. There's nothing that gives me greater pleasure. And although, in this world, in this game that we're playing the game of being in business. And so we charge for stuff. But we do have a free section in our membership. And, if you want to kind of see more of this, if you want to know more about this, join our membership and look at the free stuff. And, feel free to pay as well and have that stuff too.
Have it all.
Absolutely, have it all.
Cara's just asked a question. She just asked, is it an online course? Because she lost us for some of that. So yeah, just to clarify, if that didn't come across or if you dropped out at any point, it's a 90-day online course. And what we mean by that is we send you an email every day with some content, and it may be an audio to listen to, it might be a video to watch, it might be something to read. I think we're going to try and do 2 or 3 live webinars a bit like this that you can join in with,
at least
and send the recording afterwards, and then there'll be some challenges a little bit like the stuff we've talked about already. So it's a mix of stuff, so that hopefully something for everyone, but yes, it's online in terms of we send it out via email every day. I hope that answers your question, Cara, but feel free to drop us an email if there's anything else.
And we're really interested in your feedback. If something's coming up for you and kind of going, it would be really helpful for me if this was included or something like that, please feel free to share, because as I said, this is a pilot. We would really like your feedback. We would really like you to get involved. We would really like, for you to join in. So please, and even if you're not joining in with the Warriors course, but you have suggestions here, we're good to take any suggestions. It's, we would love to hear from you.
So yeah, I think that's everything, and we're pretty much bang on time to finish.
Oh, okay. So if nobody's got any last minute questions, if there's nothing else anybody wants to know, I'll go and just keep watching
checking
on
baby news. Thank you everyone for joining us. It's been a really lovely evening. We hope you've gotten something out of it, and have a look at what we're up to on Facebook and share your best tips, because we'd love to know what they are.
Yeah, we absolutely would. We'd love to hear from you. So thank you very, very much, everybody, for being here this evening. Goodbye for now.
Bye.